Bulabinaka, Namaste and good evening. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan and we are privileged tonight to have a very important guest again, saying yes to our invitation, the chairman of the Great Council of Chiefs, Ratu Viliame Seruvakula. Ratu Viliame, it's good to see you in person after about, I think, 21 years, 23, maybe 21 to 22 years.
Indeed, it's been a while. Vijay.
And of course, for those who may not know, the Ratu Viliame used to be senior officer of the Republic of Fiji military forces and left after the events of 2000, not too long after that. Ratu, we will be talking about various issues. But I think, because when we put this show out and to say that it will feature you, we also said that you played a significant part in the defense of Queen Elizabeth Barracks in 2000. One during the coup on May 19, 2000, and one during the November 2nd mutiny. If you can talk about that, because those are some of the most turbulent times that Fiji ever experienced.
Yes, Vijay, I left the army. I left the RFMF prematurely, I would say, because I really wanted the RFMF as a career to retire from the army. But unfortunately, events of 2000 came by and was beyond our control. I think we've all read about it, what's happened and what took place, or what led to it. We were in the unfortunate, were put in a very unfortunate situation to choose to disobey orders which we deem illegal, to go and commit treason, do the right thing, disobey orders, but safeguard the institution. It's a situation no military officer would want to find himself in or herself in. I was in the spot at that time. I made the call. We were not going to commit. I was not going to lead my soldiers, allow my soldiers to commit treason. At the moment I made the decision, I was left with no doubt that I'll have to see it through, because at the end of it, my career is over. I can no longer stay in the military after disobeying orders. So we went through, and that led to my departure. The end of it. When we finished when the mutiny was over, which is an unfortunate dark page in our history, I was out of Suva when it started, and I came back in. I was communicating with our people who were there, and there's a lot of stories about a big fight going on. There wasn't really. There were some people firing one way and people firing aimlessly the other way, which was unfortunate because some stray bullets went out into the suburbs and people got hurt. So I gave the order while coming over, I think around about Pacific Harbour, somewhere around Ravuama. I told 3 of our on the radio, everybody cease fire now. If you do not know where the rounds are impacting, cease fire now. If they continue to fire, let them do so. And not long after that, it died, of course. By the time I got up there, things were all calm. But when it was all over, I decided that the first thing that we need to do is to clean house. We have to clean up the house. So I ordered a thorough investigations on all misdemeanors by my soldiers, including myself. I had to go to the police and ask you, look, if there's anything on me, you let me know now, because I'm going to begin process. I spoke with Moses Drive about it, who was the Assistant Commissioner of Police Operations at that time. And so we took charge. As we were going through this, and there were some soldiers who were charged for disobeying orders, and it struck on, and it's dawned on me that I committed that. And I realized that I had to leave. So I typed my resignation letter, went up to Marama, and tendered my resignation. He said he was going to pardon me and all the rest of it. I said, look, what I did, I had compromised my position as a leader of men, and there's no place for me here. You have to let me go and leave the institution intact. So that led to the decision, and also my family had come under a lot of threat. My children were so traumatized with the nasty phone calls. My wife said, we have to take our children out of the country if they are to have a future. So I took them away and I was fortunate that the New Zealand government offered me a job, and the rest is history.
I'll ask you a few things, because those remain burning questions when people are talking about it. It does come up at times. Number one, a story that has been relayed, quoted, you being quoted in it, that during the May 19th coup and after that, you receiving communication from some people to support the illegal act, and in return you'll be paid a large amount of money. If you can talk about that, because that shows that there were other players who wanted it to succeed in a certain way by getting full military support.
Yeah, look, there was a lot of pressure coming from the outside, money. One call even said that I would be made the commander if I supported them. And there were a lot of those silly stuff. I found really annoying, because loyalty is something you cannot buy. I found it disrespectful in trying to lure a soldier, not that took an oath in my God's name to carry out the duty, and to offer money to say, give that up and do this. We found it very insulting. It was something that was never given a second thought. We found it very sad, and it didn't deter us at all from continuing with what we have chosen to do.
Ratu, you now will definitely be involved in a process which is about to start, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The current government has said it is important to look into it. Even the opposition leader has said, yes, he's a former RFMF senior officer as well, Ratu, has said it's important to talk about things even right back to 1987. Some have made the comments those events were one of the darkest days for Fiji and continued to take us backwards. How important do you think this setup will be and the way it's run?
I think it's timely. I had been working on a book to tell my story about what happened. But now that after hearing that there's going to be a truth and reconciliation process, I thought, I'll show it. Because this is, and now, I think, time is a great healer. We've now come to a point in time in our history that there are things, perhaps it's the best left alone, but we need to come out and, so that we can open up the evidence for people to come forward. I left Fiji hoping that I'd walk away from that, but I couldn't walk away from it. I went into the United Nations, went to the New Zealand Army, and it affected me. It stayed with me. The kids grew out of it.
What stayed with you?
The pressure, the stress. I think later on, after going through this again, when I was in Libya, Tripoli, the peak of the Arab Spring, I realized that I was getting it again. And as I found out later, that's post-traumatic disorder. It's PTSD. Now I realized that I had PTSD when I was here. Sleeping 2 hours, 3 hours a night for 3 months doesn't help. It doesn't work. You're coping. Sometimes you go without food for days and you don't realize it. That's what stress does to you. And here, it was very strong here, especially when we as a force, everybody, when you're in the army, that's where you feel safe in there, because everyone took the same oath and you're together. But then you get to a point in time and you realize that, somebody else is going the other way. I've got space beside me. I've got to look after myself now. And that's something that you're not trained for, because you're trained that all your friends you'll be standing together. And that causes a lot of stress, because you have a responsibility to lead, man, and you have to look after yourself, and you need to look sideways, look forward, look backwards. And you're dealing with life. It's not something you can go to the shop and buy a second one. You lose it, that's it. And as well as the soldiers, you lose the last soldier's life, that's it. And you have to live with that, for losing a soldier for the rest of your life. Whether you made the decision a right one or wrong, it's up to you or not. In my case, the decision to go down that path with all those hardships we faced, I made the decision. So everything that the soldiers face going down that path, I take responsibility for it, whether I like it or not. And that's something I'll have to live with.
Now, with this Reconciliation Commission, of course, you did say that it will open up wounds. Some things it's better to leave it as they were, but at the same time, it may come up through the victims. That this is what happened.
Yeah.
And we know in 87, in 2000, civilians have their stories to tell, even in 2006. How do you think we should be handling this, knowing that it could become the situation may heat up again, from your perspective?
When I said leave it alone, I think I should have elaborated on that by saying that, the blaming game, the blaming people, so and so did. And I think that should be. You should talk to one another. We should come forward to the reconciliation. Be prepared for the hard words. And as I told Minister Karen, I'm ready for that. I'm happy to go first if you want me to, or to be amongst the first, because I know I'll feel better. I will tell you my story, what I did, and you can tell me if you didn't like what I did, and I have the responsibility to accept it. And because it's only then we can move forward. I'm not saying that to leave it alone and just forget about these things. No, we should talk about it and be open about it. And that yesterday I was at the first sitting of the reconciliation team, in the process of putting together the legal framework for the commission, and these questions came up, and these issues turned up, and so we were left with that we need to let it take its course.
And just letting people know that we will have a separate show with the chair of the GCC talking about truth and reconciliation, but tonight we have to look at other issues regarding the Great Council of Chiefs coming back, and that's what we'll be focusing on. And thank you for just initial comments, and I won't let you off that easily. You'll be back for another show to talk more about it. Let's talk about, I would say there's a real concern on the ground about the erosion of iTaukei culture, traditions and language. There's several challenges at several fronts, and it's very concerning. Are you concerned as the chair of the GCC?
Well, the chiefs have voiced their concern at the last meeting in Delma, that led to, and that has now led to the appointment of a subcommittee led by Professor Apollinaire Tamata. And they've been given the terms of reference to look into exactly what you're talking about, what has led to that. But it's not hard to work out why. But first of all, one is time is changing. The evolution. Now everyone's exposed to AI, and so especially the young children. There are many factors that have led to the erosion of the. It starts from, if you're talking about the GCC, it's the leadership in the traditional setting, the traditional structure. People have talked about, is it still relevant? The structure is relevant or not? It is relevant. It is the framework that holds iTaukei together. It's the leadership within that framework, from the Tokotoka, the family, to the Matangali, that's the clan, the Avusa, and all the way to the guy at the top, has to take responsibility for that. I was down at the parade ground this morning talking to the Ratu Schooner parade, and I stressed to the parents that all these issues that's happening now, including language and culture, it starts from home. If we're neglecting looking after the children, because one thing we need to remember is these kids there today, you and I, Vijay, we live through a period where the societal norms were observed. Yeah? People follow the rules. There were laws made by lawmakers in the appropriate manner. Then we came through the last 16 years where all this was turned upside down. The lies were said to be truth, and and vice versa, and people made laws as they go along so they could target individuals that they want. It's all the norms of society. It is unfortunate that this generation, most of them are on parade today, now that they're 16, 17, the whole development stage of cycle life of a child, they live through that. And now it is our responsibility to fix it. And the way I see it is, this is the time where leadership needs to stand up and say, that's the direction we need to go. These are the things we need to do. These are the things we need to do to make sure that we all have and lead in that direction. Because if we don't, this young generation will take all these things that they are now picked up during their childhood. They don't know what's right and what's wrong. They're still going through that. And as you know, you and I, we were, as parents, there were parents who were stressed during that period. They lost their jobs. There was no job security. So all that stress would lead to things they say unconsciously in the house, their behavior in the house. The kids are watching it, and to them this is the norm. And if we don't fix it now, in the next decade, some of them will be parents, and that's going to be passed on, and it'll transcend generations, unfortunately. So we need to fix it now.
What part can the GCC play in the present age and in the future, knowing that, as you said, some people are saying that the GCC is outdated?
Stories, if you're looking for something short and sweet. I will bring you the latest news on the dot so you stay updated. You're welcome. You don't have to go anywhere for content because I bring the content to you. Not only can you listen to your favorite radio stations, you can also watch online video content. Which reminds me, do you love sports? Well, guess what? With the Fiji Village app, you can stay up to date with your favorite sports and scoreboards, no matter where you are. Your #1 news website just got better with an app. Download and get updated now.
Coup breakfast with Budana Penny and Tifa. Good yanders.
It's 7:21 and it's Turned Up Tuesday. Turn up.
Good yanders, let's go. Hey! Hi! We just wanted to take this moment to say a big binakabakalibu
For making us the #1 radio station in Fiji.
Your sport is a world to us.
Thank you for listening in day after day.
I like listening to Breakfast on FM 96. I love all the songs that they play, and FM 96 is one.
We love FM 96.
FM 96. Our #1.
One thing that draws me to FM 96 is that the content is relatable. They do play all the music that I love.
Part of FM 96 is listening to Penny the Penny Saris. And they make fun about my small head because it shines brighter than the content.
And you have made us a part of your daily routine.
And we couldn't be more grateful.
Thank you for making us #1 in Fiji!
That sounds right. Okay, I got it. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Sick and tired of hearing all these people talk about What's the deal with this pop life and when is it gonna fade out?
The sun is fading away.
If I could reach the stars,
Bum, 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 bum. I don't know the rest of the words.
I'd give them all to you.
As the June light turns to moonlight.
La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. Loving you is all I ever need. Making love with you is all good.
I take back those words that hurt you, and you'd stay.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight, the chairman of the Great Council of Chiefs, Ratu Viliame Seruvakula. Ratu Viliame, in relation to our education system and curriculum, a lot has been said about that and about the teaching of iTaukei. For example, I went to Suva Grammar School, and I remember there was an option available. Once a week, you can attend iTaukei language class and conversational, and I'm blessed and happy that I took that, and I understand the language very well. Those kind of options to be made available to ensure that the culture, tradition and language, the parts of it are within the curriculum of any school in Fiji. Is there a plan to do that?
Right now, as we speak, Vijay, there is a subcommittee, the Education Committee. They're looking into, they've been tasked, because at the last meeting the chiefs were raised exactly the same concern, the sentiments that you've just talked about. Now, that was discussed at quite some length, the concern from the chiefs about the way things are. Because if we think back, you and I went through education system that's the envy of the region, you know, and look at work. The people who come out of that, when they go into job, they have good work ethics because of the way they were educated. Our education system was great. But then, unfortunately, that was taken apart for some reason, not only to some people. They took it apart, and look at where we are now. You know, the exam system, there's a whole raft of things that they changed. And so the Education Committee is going down. I think Queen Victoria School is being identified as the pilot project because it's all predominantly Taukei boys, and they're in a setting in a boarding school. So they're going to the QVS will be used to relook at this, where we now lack, what used to work, where have they disappeared to, and what the problems they have caused, and how we can come with ways of fixing that. And even the culture of you know, in schools, we used to be taught cultures. We always have a program where we are taught how to do mekes, how to present a sebu, how to present a tabua, and the girls used to, you know, weave mats and all these kind of things. But those were taken away. They were deemed that it's racist. There's nothing racist about culture. Culture is important. It makes a people. It defines us for who we are. I've seen with my own eyes where teachers preparing for a traditional ceremony, and it's all over the place. And it's they're all standing around looking like, yeah, we got this, we got it. It's not. You know, it's frightening to think that it's gone to that level where even the teachers have forgotten about how to, you know, our traditional cultures and how we are doing things. So it is timely for that to take place. They have a big job. They have a three-year term, this education subcommittee and the language and culture subcommittee. They all there for 3 years to continue. So after QVS, they're going to go to Ratu Viliame Seruvakula and then one of the girls' school, just to make sure that we And once they've identified that, then we'll be talking to the Ministry of Education as to how we can bring this on. But we will continuously work with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of iTaukei Affairs to make sure that we bridge this. Like I said earlier on, this is the time to fix these things. We can't let it to wait for another 5, 10 years.
It's interesting what you said about, like, if even for a teacher, if they're about 32 years old, they were 16, and after that, or the whole 16, 17 years, when things changed, and they come out of it, they don't know any different themselves.
There you go.
I believe you had to stand up in one of those ceremonies and correct them before the chief came in.
I had to. We had to stand up to talk to the teachers. You need to, that's wrong. This is the way you do it.
Can you explain what ceremony was going on and what was wrong?
It's a traditional ceremony of welcome. You know, the sequence in a traditional ceremony of welcome, and you do the Galgalobi and all this, the sequence is there for a reason. When a person arrives, the Wakasombu, you know, you perform the Wakasombu like in the old days when you're coming out the canoe. This is to signify that you're welcome, you'll be okay. You know, you're not going to end up in somebody else's party if you come ashore. So, and when you arrive, and because you're coming over with water, you know, covered in water, then they do the Ravuama, where the ladies present the mat, that to signify, you know, drying up the guest to make sure that he's welcome. And then you present, you know, the Galgalobi after that, and then the Galgalobi and the mat, and then you present the Sebu to say, okay, now this is a way for us to explain who we are and what and how much we value your presence here, etc. And they do the same. And then you present the meat. He said, you're welcome, you know, you will be well fed here, so you'll be fine. So they come in a sequence. And you don't go lay them out in the front there for everyone to see and say, okay,
show of pride or something.
Exactly. You do it in a sequence. Let's say, and it also depends whether the receiver receives it. You have to listen to what they say. If they receive it and they said, yeah, okay, I'm happy, I thank you very much for this, okay, then you do the next one. If they say this and they like it and you hear the words are right and say, what? The next one, bring the next one in. You don't go and show it out there and lay it out. So to me, it's a sign of a lack of understanding why we do these things. You know, it's not just to do it nicely. Something that bothers me is that the military, almost like the militarization of things. You know, see people sitting in ceremonies, sitting like soldiers, sitting upright. I don't know where did this come from. This is not tradition. You just sit there calmly, you know, and just be you as you are. And these are things, you know, people watch and they go and copy, you know, and they go and do it because this person's doing it. Which signifies you don't even understand why you're doing it. It's not yours. I go around like today. They said everywhere I go, my staff always call up in advance and said, hey, just be aware, the chair of the GCC don't wear salu when I go to any, you know, a guest or something, because it's not, I'm from Lesotho, we're from the bush. There's no flowers in the bush, so we don't wear salu. That's what my father told me. I said, why don't we wear salu? I said, there's no, he said to me, there are no flowers in the bush, son. Cave dollars don't wear salu.
It's better for you anyway.
Yeah.
Now, in relation to a lot of concerns raised about the disrespect being shown to teachers in schools, increasing misbehavior in schools. It's coming from everywhere. The teacher unions have raised concerns and they're saying it's getting out of hand. Majority, of course, we are saying that the different structures need to do different things right. And what is the Great Council of Chiefs planning to do? Because this is a very serious concern now.
Language and culture, it may sound distant, but culture is what defines us. Culture is who we are and what we are, the parents, and that's why we have that subcommittee to identify this. But to answer the question, the first part of it, it goes back down to the parents. The teachers, who are in the unfortunate situation or position to be going through this, shouldn't be going through that, because that's not their job. The behavior of a child is a parent's job. If you remember the beginning of our discussion, I said that there's a lot of stress out there. We are in a nation, a traumatized people. People have been traumatized with it. They just don't realize it. Stress is a silent killer. The parents are stressed, they don't realize it, and they're starting to miss things that they're supposed to do. The child are not looked after, and I said that this morning at the parade. When you sit down at the dinner table, look at the children's eyes and ask yourself, do I really understand my child? Do I know that he's okay, or he or she is going to be okay? Have you been keeping track of what they've been doing, where they're going? Because if it's only then that you can fine-tune the behavior of your child, of your children. Unfortunately, in the iTaukei culture, there's so much distractions. You have the church goings. In a week, there'll be 4 or 5 times that dad goes to something, mom goes to something, and then dad goes to drink grog, and then mom just join their friends, and the kids are left alone, which is a dangerous thing when they're going through the development stage of life. They haven't really fully developed the decision-making process, and they go out and meet other kids who are also in the same boat, who have been neglected. And these young kids, they make up their own minds on what is right, what is wrong, and that's when they end up in trouble. And such behavior, the sense of belonging, they lose the sense of belonging, because that's what kids go together, because they want to belong to something, and they come up with wrong ideas, and the behavior is different. And when they go to school, and unfortunately, it's the teachers who wear the brunt of this.
So the teachers are expected to parent?
No. Now the expectation is...
Well, the expectation is that,
No, but they're not.
But they cannot do that because
it's
they
not
have...
their job.
And the issue that I'm asking about, do you think, it is becoming a real concern that the level of parenting in a lot of houses, and this is no judgment, we see the amount of children, underage children on the streets. A majority of them are seen to be iTaukei.
Yeah.
I drove the other night to drop someone off, and I came past one of the housing subdivisions in Nasinu, and there were girls as young as about 10 to 12 years old out at about 10:30 at night. And it's definitely not right, because and they're just roaming the streets. We did ask police, what can you do about it? They're saying the parents should be looking into this and raise the issue of negligence. But what's your message to the people who are watching this? And we know there's several cases of this incident that I've talked about.
Well, like I said, it starts with the parents. You need to, in the TV, there used to be this in the television programs, it's 10 o'clock, do you know where your children are? When you don't know where your children are, the children wants to belong to a group. And if they're not loved at home, not looked after, not enough attention being paid to, then they go out. Then they go out somewhere where they can feel affection, either with friends or others. And that's where they end up. It is really sad. Perhaps, there's something that the Ministry of Home Affairs need to look into. Laws in New Zealand, if a child is found in the streets like that, and they know that the parent is taken to task, there are laws in the country that looks after that. Perhaps it's something that we need to start looking into, reviewing the laws that about loitering and all that.
As the GCC chair, will you be talking to the government about some of these issues, knowing that majority of the youth that are involved in this are the iTaukei?
We will be, definitely, because just in the recent week, last week, I think there were 2 days we spent going through these issues that we see in the papers every day. Drugs, HIV, there's a few other bits and pieces. Suicide, yeah. That we need to look at this. And I was up at the camp yesterday talking to the commander about a few aspects of it, that we need to look at this holistically. We can't really, because if you look at, today, I read the paper this morning, I scanned through it. I think a couple of ministers saying we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. Yeah, but what are the strategies? a lot of the things, the solutions being targeted today, and the reason we talked about it is this: there's not enough strategic level planning to look into these solutions. A lot of the Band-Aid treatment, which is tactical level, the drugs, they come up with these, no criticism of the decision, but they look at the bureau, okay, it's the operational level. But I think there needs to be a holistic approach where they need to set up something for at the strategic level. The drugs, for instance. I think we perhaps need to bring back and establish a national intelligence structure where all the stakeholders tap into. And because some of these problems, like the drugs, the drug is now leading into others, and this drug is not coming from; it's coming from outside, and you can't fix that by trying to work at the tactical and the operational level. You need to work at the strategic level, and that's where we need a national level of intelligence set up. We had one. Unfortunately, the command structure wasn't thought through properly, and that ended up in being manipulated. Mr. Chowdhury got rid of it.
Got very political.
The
FIS, Fiji Intelligence Service.
Yeah. We need something like that, so the military, the police, and all the stakeholders can tap into. And once you have something at the strategic level, then the foreign intelligence can also link with you, because you are now at that level. You're at the top at that table to play with the big boys. Because at the moment we're only looking at trying to fix things at the tactical and operational level, which I believe, at the rate we're going, we're beginning to paint a very fast-moving train right now, because that's all we're trying to do. We need to step back and think.
Well, just earlier today, the Minister for Women, Children and Social Protection, Linda Tambuya, has said, we need to go hard on this, and she's even suggested that we need to bring the death penalty in for those people who are bringing in large quantities of drugs. We are reaching that point that this is the Minister for Women and Children who's made a call. We know under the Constitution it's unlawful for corporal punishment. I mean, death penalty does not exist in Fiji, but she's calling for it, that this should be brought in. I mean, from the government perspective, as you said, there needs to be a concerted effort, a well thought out. And are you included in these discussions, knowing that you hold a very crucial role as well?
With discussion with the minister?
In terms of the whole issue, the social
I
issues?
was saying to someone last night that we haven't, we've been hearing about these drug pushes and all this. I haven't heard anything about the dealers, the kingpins. Fiji is so small, there can't be, how many months now? We should have been able to identify the kingpins by now. It's such a small place. I know, because we worked intelligence in this country. We picked up a Coup plan within months of it's being hatched, So it's not a small, it's not a big place. People talk. But how we haven't been able to do so is something I struggle with, because those are the people.
Do you
we need
believe
to go
that
after.
some people are hiding that information?
I believe they're connected. I believe they're connected to people who are protecting them. And that's the only way such people can continue to survive in a small country like Fiji.
And that's why you're saying we need to move quickly?
We need to move quickly. We need to get set up at the strategic level to put plans in place, and a sanitized organization where they can go and even investigate organizations like the police, the military, the whatever, bureau. Because these places, that's what the drug dealers go after. They go after the very people who will stop the operation and infiltrate it. And we see, unfortunately, every now and again, we see members of the police force compromised. It's not the police force that is bad. There's always one rotten apple in the barrel every now and again, or everywhere you look. But bring back the death penalty. Yeah, I think I understand where she's coming from, but perhaps this needs to be thought through better before we get to that. I mean, there's still other things we can do like increasing sentence for certain people and really harsh penalties for, because the penalties are, I think, are outdated. They need to be reviewed for drug dealers.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
क्या आप भी परेशान हैं? क्या आपकी भी लाइफ में ऐसी ही टेंशन है? आपकी परेशानी को कम करने के लिए आ रहा हूं मैं बहुत ही जल्द आपको हंसाने के लिए। रेडियो सरगम और रेडियो सरगम फेसबुक पेज पर बहुत ही जल्द वहीं पर मिलेंगे। हेलो, अरे यार,
आप देख रहे हैं इसी संडास जो हमारे सुपरस्टार प्रश अभी आकर इस्तेमाल करेगा। किसी वक्त अभी लो आ गया सुपरस्टार प्रश।
Not following me
सर
again.
सर सर जनता जानना चाहते हैं सर जनता जानना चाहते हैं सर। Are the rumors true, sir? Hopefully. Bye. सर एक सवाल अब आप देख रहे हैं दफ्तर के स्टूडियो में हम बन चुके हैं जेसिका जी। जेसिका जनता जानना चाहते हैं जेसिका। जनता जानना चाहते हैं कि आप कौन सी मेकअप लगाते हैं?
आज मैंने तो कोई मेकअप नहीं लगाया।
लगता है लगा ले।
हाँ JUGA।
तो आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ एसेंट का गाड़ी पड़ा है। काफी गर्जी है लेकिन एसेंट साहब एसेंट सर अमेरिका से आए हुए सर। अमेरिका का जनता जानना चाहते हैं सर आप हमेशा काला चश्मा क्यों पहनते हैं सर?
तो सफेद चश्मा कहाँ मिली? सफेद चश्मा देखा कहीं तुम?
तुकता क्या को है?
Demis, sa mama na lima? Maybe kenapa? Gol. Gol.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight, the chairman of the Great Council of Chiefs, Ratu Viliame Seruvakula. We'll continue with the social issues because this no doubt concerns you. As you said, you were up at QEB even talking to the army commander, and these issues really matter to everybody in relation to drug dealing in usage. Syringes, needles found everywhere in different neighborhoods. We can see people, there have been concerning stories about even, for example, a young boy, the drug-free world Fiji founder Kalesi Volatambu had shared this story. A young boy came to Suva from the Maritime Islands. The family said, don't worry, to the family in the Maritime Island, we'll look after you and for further education. Very young, about 10 or 11 years old. Left on the wayside here, neglected. In the end, started selling methamphetamine for one of the drug peddlers and ended up using it, got addicted because meth is highly addictive, and then started to get his hit, would even have to sell himself, became a prostitute at 11 years old. That's just one of the stories. There's many. There's drug addicts as young as 10 or 11. Syringe use high. And we can see even it's shown in the latest HIV statistics that we'll be talking about. Let's talk about drugs. We've said we need to be strategic. What is your message to the government, knowing that on the ground these situations are coming up every day?
I think we need to step back and stop going on in the media and just saying, because all these comments being said in the media, they almost like it's starting to sound like a bad record player with without much substance in it, not enough direction for action in some of them. The problem is real. This the people in the villages coming into town, and then you have this overcrowding in the. When you're talking about iTaukei, a lot of things have been focused in the villages. The biggest problem with iTaukei is in the towns, in the settlements, where we have most of them are iTaukei. Overcrowding. I'm glad that now they are talking to the Minister for Housing, Mr. Nalumisa, the Honourable Nalumisa. They're now putting together a plan to scope the big settlers, big settlements, to find out, because some of these settlements, there are people who have good jobs. You look at the settlements, some of the nice cars, and they should really be paying rent or probably staying somewhere, and they're just creating these settlements. And so they're going to scope, won't say the name of the settlement, but they're going to go into these areas and try and fix this. And a lot of this crime stems from those places, because that's where you send it. And that's not a new problem. Children being sent by their parents to Suva for families to look after them, but because there's already overcrowding in those houses, some kids left neglected, and there's where some of them even get abused. Sexual violation is another, sexual assaults, and that's where they occur. Drugs occur because there's no jobs, and there's so many mouths to it. And we've seen this, and I've seen this in countries I've worked in, wherever with this social break, they stem from overcrowding, poor education, of course, and in overcrowding of settlements. It's to do with the traditional support system, where Fijians, we are a communal society, so you are expected to look after your relatives when they come to Suva, and then that used to be no problem in the past, because people had jobs, people were well educated enough to understand the need to look after those. It's a combination of issues that's starting to show, unfortunately, a moral decay in the society. It's leading to those, and these are what we're seeing now, are just the outcomes of those.
Ratu, what is worrying now, and you're right, you pointed out something which is very important, that the problem is known. Everybody knows the problem. It's time to fix it. Yeah. And it's time to move quickly, as you said, to get to the drug pins, the kingpins as far as drug dealing is concerned. We know that there's millions of dollars worth of methamphetamine. They cannot be coming through the plane. They're coming through our waters. You have a military background. How do you think we can cut off the supply?
Well, you need to, that's why we need to have a strategic intelligence network to work this out. Because this is way beyond our shores, way beyond our borders, where these things are coming from. So we need to have that level of resource that, when you're talking about a strategic intelligence network, we need to resource it with personnel. And, there are already well-established such institutions around us, the New Zealand, Australia, the Americans. And I remember they came the last time when we set up FIS. There were a lot of help from overseas, but unfortunately it's the very people in Fiji, the very people in the government and the other institutions manipulated it. It can still be reestablished and can still become a properly run institutions to achieve what it set out for. And that's what we need to have in order to target, to identify, to go beyond our borders and know where these things are coming from and how they're operating. We're looking at, when you hear the way those people take in charge of this, the bureau, they're talking about all what they're seeing on the coast here, what they picked up from checkpoints and all this. These are right at the coalface where these things are being used. We need to go back. We need to go backwards from where they're coming from, and try and map out the logistical chain of where this thing. And one of the easiest ways of tracking it is to follow the money. Follow the money. We have government institutions that are authorized to look into these things. We now have forensic financial forensic investigators. Follow the money always leads to where this thing is coming from.
My issue is everybody's already saying it's a national crisis. I'll go to the other issue, which is also mind-boggling, and it continues to increase. And the other issue is we need to intensify the campaigns against these issues, and this is in relation to HIV. 552 new cases just announced last Friday from January to June. And then we have 85 of those confirmed as through injectable drugs. Now these are the people who have gone forward and gotten tested. It's voluntary, it's reported cases. Definitely there's more cases out there. Again, another concern, majority of them iTaukei, Ratu.
It is. It is a great concern. And like you said, we all know what the problem is. It's trying to come up with what we need is the government to come up with the solutions, come up with the strategies on how to fix these things. I think something I've noticed, and I think I'll mention this. I've come back after 25 years being out of the country, and I now begin to work with iTaukei affairs. And this is no criticism of iTaukei affairs, because I've seen it in other government ministries. I'm seeing it across the Suba, where I've been working, people I talk to, when we talk business. There seems to be a reluctance to think, maybe not reluctance, perhaps they do it unconsciously, afraid to think outside the box. And I think this is, that mindset is leading into, is perhaps a hindrance to finding solutions to this problem. Because we all still trying to think inside the box. And in my opinion, perhaps the reason this is happening is that in the last 16 years or whatever period that this antagonism of people, these were good civil servants, but perhaps because of the way they had been led or directed, and I can't help notice they are so engrossed in little rules and regulations. No, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. Think outside the box. Well, instead of thinking, hang on, let me find a way to get it done. It's the other way around. Oh, no, you can't do that. And I think because they became numb to it over a period of time, that it's become a norm. And I think that's one of the reasons why these critical issues have not been resolved easily. People keep saying exactly what you're saying. They know what the problem is. But we need to think outside the box. It's a time to think outside the box to come up with the solutions of these things. The Honourable Minister, as you said earlier, said, bring back the death penalty. Well, there you go. It may sound draconian at first glance, but there are countries who use it. Singapore uses it, Thailand uses it, and look at does it solve the drug problem? No. Still have drug problems. But, so it's time to think outside the box and find solutions to this problem.
And people may agree to disagree, and it's about having that dialogue and the discussion where your role is very important as the chairman of the Great Council of Chiefs, because majority of the iTaukei are getting affected by it. I'll talk about violence against women and girls. The statistics, horrifying, 2 out of 3 women have endured some sort of violence. And Fiji is holds one of the highest rates of violence against women and girls in the world. As a Great Council of Chiefs, what are you planning to do about that? Because these are our mothers, our sisters, our wives who are getting affected.
I was mortified when I was shown the statistics. It was horrible. In my work around the world in the United Nations, as an advisor to the heads of the United Nations in the countries I worked in, one of the things, one of the parts of my work is to look at the risk that the UN personnel are exposed to in this country. So I need to understand the dynamics, security dynamics, what all the happenings in the country. I was shocked to see the statistics of Fiji, a country where we have a proper policing system, a proper judiciary, well, starting to become proper, and we have a country where a lot of people believe in God, you know. I've been in the country recently, I've worked in a country recently where the sexual abuse, I looked at every day, I looked at on a weekly basis, I see how many rapes during the week. It's terrible. In the country, and I can understand that because the police are so corrupt, and all the system is just falling apart. The corruption starts from the head to the tail. And then when I come to Fiji, and this was just 2 weeks ago, I think I was exposed to these statistics. It's more than the country. And I was going, well, there's something very wrong here. We got so close to declaring, or I think at one stage we declared that we are a Christian state. Christian state, Christianity, which is majority of iTaukei, talks about caring of, exactly this, looking after mothers, looking after the girls, making sure that everybody has a safe place to live in. I heard the church talking last night. There was somebody talking on the television recently, and talking about that. We need to. No, that was yesterday actually. Talking about the church needs to relook at itself. Relook at. I am so hopeful. I'm really hoping that next week at the Methodist Church Conference, they talk about this. If there's anything they talk about, I hope this is what dominates, because it's something's very wrong here. We go to church on Sundays, and yet this thing is happening right in our houses. Incest. And you look at the age group of the victims, it's unbelievable. I can't believe it's happening in my country. When it happened in the countries I worked in, which are mostly in conflict or post-conflict, or under dictatorship, of very corrupt governments, that's nothing compared to ours. Our figures are terrible.
And the other issue is that majority of those cases of our young daughters, in the case of rape and sexual abuse, etc., child abuse, in majority of those cases in Fiji, the perpetrator is known to the victim, which is even more concerning.
Now, when I look at those countries and when I do those assessments and I do analysis on figures and information available, there are three things that always come to the fore: overcrowding, poor education, and pornography. Easy access to pornography. Like I said on a couple of occasions in our talk, that the child is developing from 3 to 17. If they get exposed to this, and we know pornography is an addiction, and the mind, the young mind, to make the right decisions, to make the right call, to believe, to make sense of what he's looking at, is not fully developed, and they're exposed to this. Now, there's no criticism at the service providers. the Digicel, Vodafone, and etc. They're providing a service which is making it possible for people to talk to each other, communicate in emergencies, but it's easy access for young kids. That's a problem. Now, I understand, I do acknowledge the fact that it's a matter of choice for individuals. It's a choice whether you go down that path or not. But what about those who are not fully developed to make their decision? What are we going to do about that? So the government is to come with a good strategy rather than just saying, oh, no, it's a matter of choice. We all know it's a matter of choice. But those young minds are not fully developed, and we have to do something about it.
You said about 3 years to 17 years. And you're looking at certain things, inculcating certain things within the system to make sure that the young people, understand the values of good behavior, respect, values. Do you believe that you'll be able to, you're piloting it in QVS at the moment? Do you believe as you go along, after you finish with Ratu Sukuna Memorial School and maybe others, that you bring that and the education ministry sort of includes that as part of a virtues and values program across the board?
I've had one discussion with the PS of Perm Secretary for Education. We talked about something, and we did touch into this, that the education system, that's where it needs to start from. We need to be able to talk about, because some of these topics are taboo, in the traditional, you don't talk about sex with the little kids. But it's time to talk about it. It's time to find out the proper platform or vehicles to use to get the message across. Because we're talking to the parents to talk to their children, but we can also, perhaps if it's hard for some parents, the teachers can do it, to tell them. But at home, the parents need to guide the children along on the taboos of sex and looking after your family members. Unfortunately, there will always be the old. There were some perpetrators who are even as old as my age, 65, 64, 63. They, for those, it's nothing. I mean, we can only rely on the judiciary system to deal with those young people. But for the young children, it's not only getting involved in it, but how to avoid getting caught up in it.
Abuse of grog. I heard that in your own village you have tried to do some things, and to make sure you're coming back to family, stressing the importance of family, and you've started within your own village. If you can share that with the people watching tonight.
Well, in my village of Masautoka, what we've done is it's something I've noticed, that when we, especially on Sunday lunches, Sunday lunches in the village is big, is special, where the women folk of the families of the Matangali prepare food, and we all sit down as a Matangali and we talk and we eat, we share a meal together. But it's very common that after church, the men will go and what they call the lubanitai, to take off the tie, and they go and have a bowl. And there are people who, once they have one bowl down the throat, they have to continue. They can't go and eat. And then all this food, well-cooked meals by the mothers, only the children sit there by themselves with the mothers. And so when Dad passed on, and I started to relook at how we could move along with the time, how we can best utilize time, and I realized that the biggest challenge to this is the family. If I can bring the family and get the foundation right, then we can build. So I got the Bosse Banua, all the heads of the Wus and Matangalis, and we sat down and presented the case to them and said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to ban drinking grog and go on from 11 o'clock on Saturday nights until the Sunday is done. Observe Sunday, be with your family, And also the first week of every month, there will be no drinking in Ghana. It's because we split up the weeks in the month. The first week is to do anything to do with the church, whether it's fixing the church, planting the ndalo, the gardens for the tala, the wakatawa, or the school. That's when it's done. And in order to do that properly, there'll be no drinking grog till the first week of every month. So that's, we've gone a few years now, and they're used to it. And it's become very useful, they become productive. The first week they said, oh, the nights are so long because there's no drinking grog. I said, well, get used to it because that's how we're going to go. And they got used to it. Now people...
More time with the family?
Yeah, they sit down with the family. I said, look, spend that first week with your children. Look at their homework. There was an idea to say, oh, can we have the village hall where they all go and do the homework? I said, okay, the first question is, who's going to supervise homework? Are the parents going to be there? Well, we were doing so-and-so. That good. Then go home, you look after the homework and deal with it. No drinking and going at home if there's kids doing homework. So, and we have the mighties to go around and supervise and make sure that these things are happening.
Keep everyone in check.
Keep everyone in check. So, and it's working.
That's great. Maybe we need to expand it further into other areas. You being the chairman, maybe you can take the suggestion up?
I've shared it with some. You'd be surprised. There's quite a few places now that are doing.
They have started to do that.
Yeah.
We know Ratu Village. I heard much earlier. Ratu was doing that. After that, they started that major cooperative, Ndalo cooperative company. In relation to, we've seen the issue of land. A lot of talk about land and iTaukei land. Of course, more than about 92% of land in Fiji is iTaukei and well protected. The issue of availability. We had the Deputy Prime Minister Manoa Kamikamiza on the show last week where he talked about that $6 billion worth of projects are in the pipeline, quite a few agriculture related. Fiji Water, the wonderful company looking at major commercial agriculture which can unlock a lot of potential there. We have to diversify, not just tourism, but we learned our lessons from COVID. Where do you think we can come in? This is a big issue as far as land is concerned, which can also be a good return for the landowners as well.
When the leases expired, and some continue to expire, or some will be expiring soon, unfortunately, a few years ago, it was politicized. That instead of allowing the sugarcane, instead, I think the reason some of those land became left bare, were left bare. And I think one of the reasons behind that is people are not happy to lease it because they get nothing, not much out of it. But unfortunately, the lands are now empty. It's not being used, not being utilized. And the iTaukei, to utilize the land, unfortunately, one of the challenges we have is we don't have capital for, especially those land in Ba, the sugarcane belts. Those are places, if you go into agriculture, then you need mechanical agriculture. And to have that, you need money to have that. But the Fijians, the iTaukei don't have the capital, don't have the savings. When you talk about the land, if you're going to look at the lease, the lease money, some places have done it now. The Taukei, what's his name? NLTB, Taukei Land.
Taukei Land Trust Board.
Trust Board, yeah, TLTB, that's the one. My apologies. So they have now come up with ideas to hold some of the money, the lease money. They can take it and save it and invest it, on behalf of the landowners. So we've done that. We've blocked our lease money to be invested into, and it's a matter of explaining it to the Matangali, and everyone agreed with it. Fine, let's. So now we're progressing in setting up a cocoa plantation with the Ministry of Agriculture and the New Zealand consortium to expand to use our land. Now we're we're starting off with 300 acres. But as you mentioned, the Lesotho, there's two villages. We have almost 15,000 acres of forested land. We're using a very small fraction of that, not even 1,000 acres being used. So this is what we want to do. We're going to expand into the cocoa, revitalize with the Ministry of Agriculture, and we also we're taking this to the GCC for their endorsement to take this around the southern, the southern belt. You got the sugarcane belt up the top to reintroduce cocoa around here, and also in Honolulu, for the Itaukei to utilize the land that we have, so that we can contribute effectively to the economy, and this is one of the reasons the Itaukei, I think you mentioned something earlier on, and I caught on to that, but then we moved on to something else, that the Itaukei continue to be pressured. We have the biggest chunk of land, and with the resources rich that come with it, but we're not utilizing it. So we need to, in order for this country to go forward, and the Itaukei to be settled, in a comfortable position, we need to do that to empower them economically, to improve economic empowerment. So because what the Itaukei is fine, they have money, they have all the resources, everything's going good, the whole country will be fine. It's the Itaukei when they are all, they're not getting the resources, and they're not utilizing the resources, and that's all these problems keep popping up, because it's like an unsettled group of people, if you like. But how do we settle that? It's the use of the land. So the GCC is looking at that. We're going to take this to the GCC if they could endorse that, because they already asked that question. For us to go away and come up with an answer, how do we improve economic empowerment? We're looking at culture, we're looking at language, we're looking at education. How are we going to fix that? So that's what we're taking in. But the sharing of land, it has to be, that's another thing. It's pointless holding on to land if it's not utilized. It's that scare, that worry. People are afraid from, I think a lot of it was to do with politics. People, tell them that don't give your land away. No, we need to open it up for development.
And you believe that you are in that direction through the Great Council of Chiefs to ensure that you allay those fears?
You'd be surprised. The Great Council of Chiefs today are very open-minded, and they're really looking into it. Quite a few of them are all into this, are already entrepreneurs, and thinking along those lines.
Looking forward to that. The issue of unity in the sense for the Itaukei, and of course through the Great Council of Chiefs, you're starting that process again, and unity in the sense of national unity amongst all the races, because there's still uncertainty within the community, some of the communities, the fear factor that the GCC is not for everyone. And the Prime Minister made it clear when the GCC was re-established that it should be the GCC, or the Great Council of Chiefs should be for everyone. What's your message as the chair of the GCC?
The welfare of all Fijians is the government's responsibility. We all voted them for that, voted them in. The Itaukei, the responsibility of the Great Council of Chiefs is to ensure that the Itaukei, everything that is Itaukei is protected and developed for the future. In the past, we always talk about protecting the Itaukei, We need to open up, we need to get out of that and take it forward, take it a step further and say to develop the Itaukei. My responsibility as the chair and from the Secretariat is to guide, so is to prepare information, do research, gather information and present, table it to the Great Council of Chiefs. Make sure that there's sufficient information, that they are well informed before they make decisions on any subject. And part of that is to make sure that they are aware that the decision they make on this particular issue has a part of it will be affecting the minority ethnic groups. And then you take that into account. Because if I don't, then we have failed, because the chiefs are the chiefs for everybody. In terms of looking at the government is responsible for governance. The chiefs is responsible to make sure that there's harmony, that everybody is looked after, no one's left behind, everyone is happy in the community, because they own the land where everybody, all the groups are in.
My final question, and we touched a bit in the start on Truth and Reconciliation Commission. You said it's important where we head from here. One of the things is the 2013 Constitution, of course. It was brought in without any parliament. A lot of talk is going on. Now in parliament, both government and opposition have agreed that there should be a review, but everyone's views should be taken into account. There's also fears among some in terms of what if this takes away some of the rights of the people or equality and issues like that. What are your comments on this planned review of the Constitution?
From the GCC's point of view for the iTaukei, I would like to see a constitution that safeguards the state, the sovereignty of the state, and the Vanua. And so, because let's face it, let's be honest, there were quite a few things that were put in the constitution or taken away from the other constitutions that has damaged the iTaukei structure. So there will be a lot of fears in that. But what I would like, I've been asked this question, what would you like, what kind of constitution would you like? I said, it's not up to the GCC what the constitution is like, it's up to the people. All we would like to see is that the constitution is done fairly, is the widest consultation, that everybody's views is incorporated, because it's not the GCC to decide what goes in the constitution, it's the people. The people need to decide what they want in their constitution that's fair to everybody and make sure and helps and guides them. So I think that's what the way we need to go in this as far as this constitution. Politicians say, oh no, we should keep that one here, oh we should take that one, the army wants this, and the other group wants this. Yeah, that's all your views, that's all it's all people's opinion. Put it out there, widest consultation, let the people decide what they want in the constitution.
So you don't have a list at this stage on what you would like changed or reviewed?
No, I think it'll be unfair for the GCC to say we want this, but all we want is to want the people. So if it's okay, let them speak up. Let them say what they want in the constitution because it's their constitution.
Ratu Viliame Seruvakula, thank you very much for your time. Before we finish off tonight, you highlighted some serious issues. One, the responsibility of the family. Two, the iTaukei community, how they should be responding to issues. And three, issues like drugs and HIV, real contentious issues for us that more strategy needs to go behind it and we need to act quickly. Based on that, what's your comments to the people before we finish off tonight?
Oh, well, look, we are going through a very challenging period in our nation's history. As I mentioned earlier on, we have come through some very turbulent, we'll say through turbulent waters. The challenges are many. On behalf of the Great Council of Chiefs, the Council, I would say the most important thing is to come together. We can't tackle this in isolation. There's no room for playing the blame game now. And it has to start from the top. The leadership starts from the top. From the government, I urge you, Mr. Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, the people need proper guidance, need strategic guidance. Band-aid treatment across all walks of life is not going to help the nation. Unfortunately, the world is not going to wait for us. The train has left the station. We have come out of the chaotic period. We need to fix problems now before our children accept it as the norm and transcends into generations in the future. Let's help them. Let's leave a future for them that we experience, that you and I experienced in our lifetime before the last 16 years. So once again, on behalf of the Great Council of Chiefs, it's been a pleasure and an honor to be here today to share with you the views on the questions that were put to me this afternoon.
Vinava Levu, and that's the chairman of the Great Council of Chiefs, and that's the show for tonight. Until next week, and next week we'll have two special shows where we'll have the first set of Miss Hibiscus contestants. 5 contestants will be with us on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and the other 5 on Thursday night at 7 p.m. So 2 shows of Fiji Village Straight Talk next week. Until next week, have a great evening.